What is up, All Stars? Welcome back to In the Cloud podcast. I'm your host, Caroline McLeod, and today I am joined by my lovely friend, Kylie Morris. Kylie and I played lacrosse at Florida Tech together, and today we're going to both go through and talk about our recruiting journeys because they were a little different. I walked onto the team and Kylie got recruited, and so we're going to give you guys little bit about us and then some pointers, some things to look for along the way. And really excited for you guys to listen on this one.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Caroline. I'm really excited. So first, I'm Kylie Morris. I am a 2023 graduate. I actually graduate this coming December, but I started my year in 2019. I'm from Noblesville, Indiana, which is just north of Indianapolis. Growing up, I went to a huge school. There were like 4,000 kids. We had a huge conference. Football was a big thing, but lacrosse was growing. It wasn't huge like it is, in Maryland. But growing up, I played all kinds of different sports from soccer, basketball. I did track, softball, volleyball. But I actually didn't pick up a lacrosse stick until eighth grade. It's kind of a funny story. One of my best friends from home, her dad coached youth lacrosse and was recruiting me for years, knew that I was pretty athletic, could catch on to the sport, and I could potentially be good at it. But I just kept blowing it off because I didn't really know anything about lacrosse. But I started in eighth grade and I picked up on it pretty quickly. And then that's kind of where my lacrosse journey began in eighth grade.
She never looked back.
I never looked back.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think a lot of the successful athletes in our sport have always played some other sport in some form or been really good. And it's interesting to see that the things you learn in other sports really translate easily.
It does.
But I mean, not a lot of people pick it up super quick, so it's pretty impressive that eighth grade, you had what, 2-3 years, and then you were like, wait, should I play this in college?
Yeah, that's a whole other, we'll get right into that, Caroline. That's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But
so I mean, you picked it up in eighth grade, and was there a point in time when you were like, oh, this is so much fun, like I could definitely see myself playing this at the higher level? Or was there like a coach that was like, hey, Kylie, you could be really good in lacrosse. Why don't you go to college? What was it
honestly, like my dad was always my coach and my biggest supporter, and I think he's the one that really pushed me to do it. I started in eighth grade. I started really late compared to most girls. Most girls pick up a stick, when they're 5, 6 years old. And, I had the opportunity to play. I fell in love with the sport. It was fun. It was different, but I think the most exciting part about it was, lacrosse isn't super popular compared to all these other sports. And, trying something new was really fun. But I honestly had no desire to play college sports while in high school. I always thought I would go to IU, Indiana University. All my friends, were going there. I wanted to go to a big school, the football, the tailgates, that's what I thought college was about. But then my dad really pushed me and was like, hey, lacrosse, like you have the skills. And I had, my high school coaches saying you could definitely play at, the collegiate level. But I think it was my dad that kind of like inspired me to really like take it seriously and push forward. He was a college athlete. He played football at University of Indianapolis. And I kind of wanted to carry on that legacy, I guess, in the family, I was like, if I can take this opportunity and make it something bigger, why not go on that?
Yeah. So
I have
cool.
my dad to thank for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have someone that's like such a strong support and like sees not even just the potential, just like sees, I don't know, I guess a possibility for you. Because I feel like when we're younger, it's hard to see the bigger picture, and like you said, like you might have had an idea of what you thought college would be like, or like the best college experience would be like, but there's always more to it. So that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, my parents were like always very like hands off with sports, but like I always played. Like I think naturally I just was always super competitive. Like, I had a ton of brothers, and like we were always just
Mhm.
playing sports together. And so I just naturally like built a competitive nature. And I knew I wanted to do something in college, like sports wise. I didn't know like if I wanted to play at like the club or varsity level, but ultimately you figure out what you're built for. So
Yeah.
um so was your dad kind of the one that helped guide you through the recruiting process, or
Oh,
did you have a
100%.
coach?
I honestly, like, I'm not going to sit here and take credit for it. I did learn a lot, so now I have more knowledge to pass on. That's why I'm here today. But he had an entire spreadsheet from the Division 1, 2, 3 NAIA, an entire spreadsheet of every school that had women's lacrosse. And we would go through it, and he would be like, okay, what schools are you interested in? He made a template for me that I could send to every coach saying I was interested in their program, or that I wanted them to watch me at, a tournament I was playing at. And funny, so I didn't actually start playing travel lacrosse until the summer going into my junior year. So I started really late. Um, I did have exposure because I did go to a big school, but they were smaller schools. Um, but once I put myself out there with that spreadsheet and I emailed these coaches, I think that's when I got a lot of notice. Because if I wouldn't have done that, I feel like it would have been hard because, again, I didn't play travel until
Yeah.
pretty late in my career. But
So your main form of communication was with just emailing the coaches.
and I think coaches like look up to that because you're putting yourself out there. It can be very uncomfortable, especially if you lack the confidence or you're not really sure about that. But that really helped me in the process. And I think coaches respected that because coaches really like when players reach out to them, have interest in their program, because it also, not only are you grabbing the coach's attention, but that coach could also be spreading your name out to other coaches. So,
Exactly. Yeah, it's the connections. So when
mhm.
you were emailing them, how did you personalize like the emails, and like how would you recommend someone like craft their email to make them stand out to the coaches, because they
Yes.
get tons of emails,
Yeah.
I'm
So
sure.
I know a lot of people use Huddle. I'm sure there's other platforms out there, but I put a whole Huddle video together of my high school games. Travel, we had some clips, but I mainly focused on high school because, again, I didn't play travel till pretty late. But I would put a Huddle clip together. I would follow pages of schools or look at where their coaches were going to be when, and I would individualize every email with obviously changing the coach's name, the major I'm interested in, um, where they were going to be at, saying, I hope to see you there. Here's my game schedule. And I think that really helps coaches too, because, like I said, it gets their attention like, okay, she's serious. She really wants, to do this. So I did that. But again, I just followed the spreadsheet that my dad gave me, and I didn't email every single school, only the ones that were, kind of reasonable. Like I wasn't, hitting up
Yeah.
University of Maryland or, UNC, but, I was looking at schools where I was like, I could see myself going there. You know, the program looks at, they have what I want to major in. So kind of
Yeah,
took it like that.
exactly. I think when you're first starting to communicate with coaches too, it's important to like not be super picky. Like, I think
Yeah.
you'd want to like reach out to the ones that you're even semi interested in, just to
hmm
practice talking to coaches as well. Because
Exactly.
as you start on your journey of like finding a school to go to, you'll pick out the things that you want in like an atmosphere, or like
hmm
a big, like the size of the school, the location. So I'd say, like, I mean, I don't know if you'd agree, but like if you're like a freshman or a sophomore, just kind of gauging interest and like putting yourself across the board, and putting yourself out there to quite a few like different variety schools, just to really see if what you want is what you want.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I wanted to highlight for the people listening, like maybe like three or four things that are important to focus on when you're looking for a school. So, like you said, your dad had that spreadsheet. what kind of categories did you really focus on? Because I'm sure it was overwhelming having,
Right.
hundreds of
Yeah.
schools. Like, what did you mainly look for when you were kind of reaching out to people and deciding who to talk to?
Honestly, I really just focused on what school had my major, the location it was in. I knew that and this is different for everyone. I grew up in a big town around the city, so I knew I didn't want to, be at a school. I wanted activities, but definitely the location and my major were the two biggest things. That I honestly I don't even think I could say four because I was like, if I just have the opportunity to go to a school that I can excel in athletics and academics, then like I'll be happy. And it's when I started going on visits, I started to narrow down my list more. Um, I went on a visit to Mercyhurst and it was like a mini Notre Dame campus, beautiful campus, but the town there, there wasn't a lot to do. It didn't feel like a college town. Um, Went to Alabama Huntsville. Again, great campus, a lot of stuff to do. So I once I started going on visits, I started to narrow my list down more. I was like, okay, I know what I like and I know what I don't like, and I would just take them off the list as I went. And I think going on college visits is really important. You want to be able to feel at home. If it's not an official visit where you're spending time with the team, at least you get the atmosphere, interaction to see
Yeah.
if you really like. And that's when you can narrow it down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, emailing only does so much. Like, once you
Mhm.
meet the coach in person and you talk to the team, like, you really get an understanding of what the program is like, what their values are.
Mhm.
And I think to make the process easier, like, even though going to visit the schools and like talking to a lot of coaches is important, it's like if you are very sure about what you want, it'll be a pretty seamless decision once you
Right.
go visit the school. But yeah, I mean, I went to Florida, like literally the visit I had at Florida Tech. I swear I like made my decision that day. Like I
I
didn't
was the
I didn't
same
do an
way. Yeah.
official recruiting visit. It was just a regular like
Mhm.
tour. But my dad and I flew
Yeah.
down in like April um of my senior year, and I had to like choose a school in May. And yeah, we did like the campus tour. Our tour guide was so funny and he was so good. It was a beautiful day. Like
Mhm.
99% of the days in Melbourne where we went to school are like sunny and like 80 degrees. It was a beautiful day. We went to the beach and it was just everything felt good. And that's how you want to feel like on a
Yeah.
campus. And like with the team that you're meeting and the coaches, like you want to have a good feeling. You don't really want to be unsure. I would say trust your gut when you're like looking at schools and
Yeah.
talking to
No,
the
I
people.
agree 100%. Tech, I had more visits planned, but after, visiting tech, immediately after I called my dad, I said, well, he was here, but I called my dad, I was like, Dad, I, I, I made my decision. Like, it felt like the team was awesome, so welcoming.
Yeah.
The coaching staff loved the campus. The beach was so close. It it just felt like home immediately, and I made my decision in that moment. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't need to go see any other schools. Like I want to go here.
Yeah, I agree. I think the big question where I was like, can I see myself here? And like when I
Hmm.
visited, when I was there in person, I was like 100%. Like I
Yeah,
can picture myself skating around the campus, going
and
to the
that's what you
beach,
did.
playing lacrosse. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I did. And like it was such a plus that they had lacrosse too because I like you kind of were saying like you wanted to pick a school that had your major. I was like super set on like finding a school with good academics and that was my
Yeah.
focus. And as another option, I was like it's just a bonus if they have a lacrosse team. Like that's going to be
Hmm.
great. And yeah, I mean that day that I visited, I was like this is the best of both worlds right now.
Yeah.
Um Speaking of major, should we talk a little bit about how you decided your major?
Yeah. So currently, I am majoring in biomedical science. I always knew I wanted to be in the healthcare field. I think it all started. I feel like most people's, start if they want to be a nurse, a doctor stems from Grey's Anatomy. That's my all-time favorite show. It stemmed from that. My mom's also a nurse, so I thought biomedical science would be a perfect, route for me. And I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I thought about med school, but then I was like, no, that's a lot. I want a life, that type of thing. But with biomedical science, you can go any route. So I decided to go the PA route, physician assistant. So once I graduate this coming December, I'll take about a year and a half off, work in a hospital, get my hours, and then go to PA school. But I mean, the classes here, Florida Tech is academically, it's very rigorous. It is a hard school, but I think being able to play lacrosse and manage those very hard classes in academics really helped me not only manage my time, but pushed me also in a way where if I were to have gone to a bigger school, not played lacrosse, the classroom sizes are 60 to 200 kids. You're not getting that one-on-one. And that was what was really important to me also in deciding where I wanted to go. Um, I wanted a place where athletics weren't ahead of academics because we see schools like that. And I just liked how, especially at the Division II level, I feel like not just Florida Tech, but at the Division II level, there's a very good balance between athletics and academics. And
Yeah,
I think that really helped me, along my journey in my 4 years.
definitely. And like our coach and I think most other coaches like stressed like you're a student athlete,
Mm-hmm.
your academics always come before sports. And yeah, I think the D2 and the D I mean all levels should prioritize your
Right.
academics, but I think to some degree it's probably different for like D1.
Yeah.
But yeah, always student athlete. I mean, I remember like missing some practices because I had like a late night class. I didn't like missing practice. It was like the
Mm-hmm.
worst because, you're missing out or you have to make it up another
Yeah.
time. But your academics always come first.
When people choose a school, like, talked about this recently about your identity. I feel like a lot of athletes, like, what's your identity? What do you describe as? And people always say, I'm an athlete. But if you really think about it, like, yes, we love the sport, we love the game. But after college, I think the most important thing to take out of it is just the relationships and friendships you build. And that is such, like, an honor to even have. I think it's like, I don't even know the 1 to 3% of high school athletes play at the college level. And so you just have to, I know a lot of girls can be hard on themselves in the recruiting process. Just stressing out like, oh, like, feeling like they're not good enough or they wouldn't make it. But I just feel like some advice is just, take a day at a time and you will find your place no matter where that is. And just to remember that, you know, lacrosse you'll carry on with you the rest of your life, but the most important thing is, focusing on your academics and those relationships that you build.
Oh, yeah, for sure. When you like visited FIT, you said it was really special and like you decided that day you wanted to go. What sort of like events happened on your visit and like what sort of do you think invoked those feelings of like I love this place, I love these
Yeah.
people?
So I've always loved the beach. I've always been a beach girl. So I was like, I could definitely see myself, going to Florida. But I think it was just such the welcoming coaching staff. They're, very nice. The campus was beautiful. But I think the thing that really drew me in was just the team. Their energy. They were so nice. They, had already made me feel like I was one of them, and they had just met me. So that was really special to me because it was kind of hard for me to wrap my head around. I'm just another recruit. Like they don't have to be doing all these things, but the team they were very genuine in what they were saying, and I think ultimately I really think it was the team. Like the location was a close second, but the team I think is really what I was like I could
Yeah.
see myself playing with these girls.
Yeah. Were you able to talk to like the captains of the team or was it just the underclassmen or
So a lot of it was the underclassmen that I spent most of my time with, but we did have gatherings where I was with the entire team. Um, Showed me around, had a really fun time with them, And I think that night I told a couple of them, yeah, I think I want to go here. And that's
Yeah.
how it ended. But yeah, I think a lot of the influence was the underclassmen just because I was able to stay in the dorms with them, really got a feel for what it would be like. Um, so yeah, I think, yeah, they really influenced my decision. But overall, the team was just awesome.
Yeah.
And another plus is the SSC. I should mention that the SSC in Division Two is like probably the
Top
best
notch.
conference, top notch, best conference play in lacrosse, competitive wise. There's some other great teams in other conferences, but when you're playing, when you get to say you get to play against, Tampa, Southern, like those are schools that are, big schools that are well known in Division Two lacrosse. And I was like, wow, like this is really cool to say that I was a part of the SSC. Like I get to play against, not only play with my teammates, but like play against these girls who are, all Americans, like top notch, like the real deal. Like I also thought that was really cool. So
Yeah.
that kind of,
Oh, it's a very esteemed conference for sure.
yeah.
It's also nice being in the South too, because a lot of schools from up north, like competitive ones and smaller ones, like to come down. So I feel
Mhm.
like we never had to travel a lot just to play
Yeah.
a variety of teams
Yeah.
that were like out of our conference. So that was nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was trying to think of like the first couple practices that I had with the team, and I definitely like. I mean, since I was walking on, I had to do. Um, my coach actually gave me a choice to do like a 2 day tryout or a 2 week tryout, and I'm like,
Mhm.
obviously, I'm gonna do the 2 week tryout. Like,
Yeah.
what if I have 2 bad days and like that's all you see?
Right.
So like,
Yeah.
I opted for the 2 week tryout, and I couldn't go to any lifts, but I could go to like certain practices, but I was very like
Mhm.
limited on how many I could go to. But I remember the one practice, I think it was like a Halloween practice, uh, and like we were just all playing games, and it was so much fun, and like one of the things that stood out to me was like there wasn't a huge separation between classes. Like
Mhm.
you weren't better than someone else just because you were like a senior over like a freshman. Like everyone was
Right.
kind of friends. And I
Mhm.
really liked that the team had prioritized, I guess, more like skill and like just personality over like just your
Yeah.
um actual age and like level on the team. But yeah, I mean it's a fun atmosphere. We had a smaller team at Florida Tech, especially our sophomore year.
Mhm.
And I swear we did so good our sophomore year. It was because of the team chemistry.
I
It's
yeah.
so underestimated on like a team, like how much chemistry matters. Because we had what, like 2, 3 subs that year, and we literally
Yeah.
were like we were going all the way before COVID.
Yeah. We definitely were. And what Regis, that was a huge game for us. I don't even,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's
that
just
was sophomore
that was
year.
one of
Like,
those games where everything just clicked, and like
yeah.
when you understand your teammates so well, it just makes the game
Mhm.
so seamless and effortless, and it's just so
Yeah.
much fun
No,
too.
exactly, because, people think like you could have the best talent, in the
Hmm.
conference, but if you guys aren't clicking, like it just doesn't work. And we've seen that all the 4 years we've been here, like the different, ways of
Yeah.
everything. But definitely team chemistry, I think, is the most important thing for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah, and I think um when you like go to visit a school, you'll see people with I mean, if you're watching the team practice and you're talking to a team, like you'll kind of gauge like the different leadership styles and maybe seeing like
Mhm.
if that'll fit into your play, like if you're going to be able to learn from them and take feedback from them, and if you're really going to have a good relationship with the teammates. That's so important because I think
Right.
it's easy to get caught up in like, oh, they're really good, like they're skilled. It's like, no, are you going to play well with them? Like, are you going to fit
Right.
in with them? Like, yes, they're good, but you have to be able to see yourself um, in there playing with them. So, and I think the coaches have the best understanding, or I'd hope so. They have the best understanding of like how the team plays, the team
Right.
atmosphere and I guess what everyone's strengths are. And so when they're recruiting, they're going to look for people that are going to mesh well with their team.
Mhm.
So don't get discouraged if like maybe you really want to go to school and like the coach isn't expressing interest or like it's not, it just doesn't seem like it's happening. Like maybe it's for the best because they know the team well. You can only see so much when you're just like watching footage
Right.
and looking at their social media. Um, but yeah, I mean the in person visits are the way to go for sure. Where else did you do like overnight stays at Alabama Huntsville and
I
other
did.
colleges or
I did at Mercyhurst, Alabama, Huntsville, and Tech were the
yeah.
only overnights I did. And it was 3 consecutive weekends in a row. So I took like a whole month and just went, on college visits.
How are the other ones different from Tech? Like what kind of deterred you from those?
I
Just
would
the vibes.
say, yeah, the vibes, the team, like I knew at, the other two, like they were, great players, great girls, but I just didn't see myself, meshing with them well. Like, not that I didn't feel like I fit in, but I was like, like I could be happy here, but I want to explore other options. And then when I
Mhm.
visited Tech, like it wasn't, I was like, there's no other options, like they're all amazing schools. I looked at a lot of schools and talked to a lot of schools, but something about Tech, I think, just I just knew immediately after. I just told my dad, again, I I don't want to look any further.
This podcast is actually a trailer for Florida Tech Lacrosse. We're just
Yeah.
convincing people to join the team.
Everybody, submit your recruitment applications to Florida Tech Women's Lacrosse.
Yeah. No,
and
I mean it's a
mention
good school. It's like
mention
we
Kylie
see
Morris
you
and
out
Caroline
there.
McLeod.
We referred you actually.
Yeah.
It's just
No, it's
funny.
a
I
great
mean,
school.
if you're not talking about your school like this, like you're just not in the
Yeah.
right spot. If
And
you're
there's
not
a
like
and you know
so
what?
excited,
Yeah. And like I said, like this is kind of another thing. This is kind of like advice, personal experience. I think a lot of girls get discouraged again, like when they think they're not good enough. And I don't care, like, people are like, oh, Division 1. If you play Division 1, that's such hype. You know what I'm saying? Like you get that like that image and like, D1, but honestly, I think all the Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, NAI are all so competitive because you'll see it. I don't think it matters like what division you're at because we've seen some D2, D3 teams better than, some Division 1 teams. It's just their division. But I just think girls shouldn't get discouraged in the whole process. You know, it's not going to be perfect putting yourself out there and it could be very uncomfortable, but you'll just grow so much more. And like I said, you're going to find your place. It may not be the
yeah,
place you originally wanted to go to, but you'll know when, you found your place and it'll all work out.
for sure. And like if you're really serious about playing and like committing, like you don't have to get recruited. You can just go walk
Mm-hmm.
on and try it like I did.
Yeah.
I remember my first practice. I was sitting on the sidelines because I was like a sub, like waiting to go in. And I was watching everyone play, and I'm like, oh my god, this game is so fast. Like these people are so good. But I was there to play. I was like, I want to be on this team. Like I'm committed to this, and it's like I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh, I'm not good enough. Like
No, and look,
I can't play this
a
level.
walk
It's
on,
like,
setting records and being all conference, like all the like it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? And that's another
no,
thing.
you
Like
just have to be in it. You have to
you
be
have to believe in
committed.
yourself. Yeah. Be
Yeah.
committed, believe in yourself, and honestly, like I want to play against girls that are way better than me so I
Hmm.
can grow and get better. That's the way to go. I didn't want to, I'm not hating on other teams by any means, but I'm saying like I would rather go to a school where I'm the last person to come off the bench because I'm
Yeah.
playing in such high competition because that's how I'm going to get better versus playing at a school where it's not as competitive or, being the only star player. You know what I mean? Like, you got to
Yeah,
push yourself. Yeah,
you have no other option than to play up
exactly.
and play to
Yeah.
their level. It's like it's so nice being able to like learn from the people that are way better than you and
Mm-hmm.
improve. And it's like I remember when I was first starting and practicing, I was like, in my head, I'm like, every rep, I'm gonna get better. Like, it's just
Yeah.
inevitable. Like, I'm playing against people that are way better than me and, like, at another level, and I'm like, this is great. Like, this is the
Yeah.
way to, like, immerse yourself and grow and get better. It's very encouraging, and, like, especially when you're in a team atmosphere that's, like, inviting and, like,
Mhm.
especially, I mean, when you're starting out and getting adjusted, like, transitioning into college, it's like, if you're open to feedback and like listening to the people around you and learning from them, you're gonna grow so much.
I know I saw a question. Someone asked if you can get recruited as a freshman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the rules are always changing. I think it's still you can get recruited your sophomore year,
Yeah, that's what it
like
was
June or July.
before.
But my freshman year playing lacrosse, I still got interest in schools. They were smaller schools, NAI, like local colleges around me that would come to the games and watch. And, they would hand me a packet. It wasn't a recruitment or like an official offer or anything. It was just like, hey, we want you to check out our program. Like, we're interested in you. You can definitely start getting that early on.
Yeah.
Like, we're interested in you, like, give you more information about their program, invite you to camps. But yeah, you officially can't get like go on an official visit
Yeah,
with the
but you can
coaches,
get
team, and
that.
all that.
Yeah, you can start networking at least. And
Yeah,
when you're a freshman, you still have room to grow. Like
exactly. Yeah.
there's not a lot of pressure or like
Mhm.
rush. So if you, I mean, totally recommend start like researching, like looking at schools.
Yeah.
Like we were saying earlier, the better idea you have of what school you want to go to, the easier it's going to be when you go
Mhm.
visit. You can say,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
this matches up with what I'm looking for, what I'm not, and
Yeah.
like what are your values. So, I mean, recommend definitely start looking when you're a freshman, but don't feel like you're behind the game if you're not.
Yeah. Trust me, you're
Like,
not.
I think,
I didn't
yeah, you
start till the end
can,
of my sophomore year, beginning of junior year. So
yeah, it's never too late.
I don't think it's ever too late. And even if you're you go to a school, don't even play lacrosse, and you reach out to them, a couple months into the semester of another school, I'm sure, you could make it work. I think,
Oh yeah,
you know, like I said, you'll find your place no matter what level it's at, where it's at, you'll know.
yeah,
And I think a lot of people will get stressed about recruitment because if they're like, "Oh my gosh, if I'm not submitting videos, if I'm not doing this, like I'm not going to be able to play in college." And that's just not the case.
hmm
But I mean, the recruitment process is definitely very stressful, time consuming, exhausting. But once you find your place, it's all worth it. It's all
yeah.
worth it for sure.
And you had your dad, so maybe
I did. I
recommend
was
trying to
very
find
lucky.
someone. Well, I'm
Yeah.
just saying for the listeners,
Yeah.
like try and find someone that can maybe help you. It
Yeah.
could be like one of your high school coaches, or
Yeah.
see if you have like an older sibling. Um, I don't know, someone.
Yeah.
That
Everyone
would make
reach out to Joe Morris. Look at
He's
you.
taking clients.
Yeah.
But I've seen
No,
a
but
lot. Actually, I've seen a lot of girls have like Instagram accounts where they post their highlights, which is really
yeah.
smart.
Yeah, I
So
didn't think to like
use your
I mean,
resources. Yeah.
yeah.
It wasn't really a thing like until the
Yeah.
last couple of
Kind of
years, but
recently. Yeah.
a lot of accounts that I see are like they'll
Mhm.
have their name and then their graduation year.
Yeah. That's a good way to do it too.
Put your IG handle and your email to your coaches. They
Yeah.
probably have IG.
Maybe TikTok, some cool
Start
TikTok
making
videos.
TikToks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Okay, so let's just briefly summarize everything we unpacked today. So as far as deciding whether you want to go to school for sports, you don't have to make your decision as soon as you get to high school, like whether you want to play. Like, I'd say gauge your interests, maybe talk to some people that have played college sports, um, and see if it's something you'd like to do. Maybe you're more interested in academics and you rather focus more on academics and just play club. Kind of gauge your own interests and see what you're wanting to commit to, as
Mhm.
far as going to a school to play. And then once you figure out what level you want to be at, kind of look into the details of like what location do you want to be, what size. Start reaching out to some schools, start talking to coaches, kind of start practicing communicating and making highlight reels, whether you're posting them on Instagram or on Huddle. Start putting your name out there, start networking, and then go visit the schools,
Yeah.
gauge what they're like, what the atmosphere is like, what the coaches are like, what their values are. Um, and that'll be a telltale of whether you feel like you belong there or fit in well with the
Yeah.
program.
Yeah. And I think just like coaches respect you more and, see a different side of you when you do reach out. Like I remember when I decided to commit to tech, my dad gave me really good advice and was like, before you, tell the coach that you want to go there, it's a for sure decision. You should give these other coaches that gave you an opportunity to play for their team and let them know. And that kind of hit me because I was like, like I think you're right. It's a respect thing. It's, you thank them for their interest before, telling where you're committed because it could, you know what I'm saying? Like it could, not that it would look bad, but if, these coaches are taking time out of their day and offering you a scholarship to play for their team and you commit somewhere else and they hear nothing back from you, it kind of looks bad.
Yeah.
So that's another thing too, is like once you just keep up that communicate, even if you don't want to go there, just make sure you send a follow up like, thank you so much for your interest. I'm very honored. I appreciate this, and this. But, unfortunately, I found, a better suited place for me. And again, like that'll get your name out there, like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, that's a really, mature, respectable kid,
Oh
So,
yeah, that's a really good tip. Yeah, be super respectful. I mean, it's
yeah,
you're trying to play at the college level. It's more serious than like high school and club,
yeah,
and
for sure.
you have to take it seriously. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why it can get stressful is because it's like so serious. It's a big deal. It's like yes, it is. So
Yeah.
you gotta
But in a good way. It's like a
yeah,
good
it
stress.
is.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Like take it. You gotta care about it. If you don't care
Mm-hmm.
enough about it, then it's not gonna go well.
Right.
But yeah, I think that wraps it up. So just remember, you can get recruited or you can just walk on like I did.
Yeah. You'll
Take a
you'll
lot of
find
this,
your place.
take a lot of the stress out of the situation. No,
Yeah.
it is.
Just
I
have
mean, I had to do a 2 week tryout. That was a lot of pressure.
yeah.
Funny story.
Just
The if you've listened all the way to this podcast, thank you for listening. You get this funny story. So I don't. You had no. I guess you weren't there because it was my freshman year. So the first practice I actually went to, the first day of my tryouts, I lived like on campus in the quad, and where we practiced was like the high school, like a couple miles down the road. Like we didn't
mm-hmm.
actually practice on campus. So the first practice, I didn't have a ride and I didn't have anyone's numbers like to text anyone for a ride. I didn't know anyone. Like I just knew the coach, and so I took my little penny board, my little like green penny board. I skated the 1.5 miles to the Melbourne High School. And mind you, this was like 5 a.m. in the morning. Like this was one of the early practices. It was pitch black. I skated. I actually the first place that I stopped was like a retirement home. Like I didn't get to the high school first, so I was kind of a little late. I was running late, but I made it to the high school. I got there, and I got my little penny board, my backpack, my stick, and I get to this practice, and the whole team is like in the middle of like a run test. Like they're doing sprints. They're actually doing 120s, which if you don't know is like full sprints of like the whole
Oh
football
god.
field. Like you sprint, you jog back, and you do that like however many times. They were
Yeah.
mid doing this, and I'm like sitting there, I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I just like jogged out and I started running with them. I started sprinting. Like I didn't even know what we were doing. No one explained anything to
Yeah.
me. The coach was like in the middle of like, conditioning them, and I'm like, I can't interrupt and be like, hi, I just jumped in. I was like, we're doing it. We're doing the thing. And everyone makes fun of me for that day too, because they're like, I can't believe you skated there, and they think it's so funny that I just like hopped in. I'm like, was I just gonna
You
stand
don't
there
want
and
to
like watch everyone sprint?
Yeah.
Like, no. You gotta show that you're capable. And that was like my tryouts too. I'm like, I
Yeah.
gotta make a good impression here. So just started sprinting. So
Yeah, no.
yeah.
I think we've both, I mean, we've obviously made some really good memories together, but the memories you make, like, it's just,
You
I
remember
mean,
it all.
there's good and bad. There's good and bad, but,
Yeah.
I'll carry these on forever.
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you guys for tuning in. I hope you learned something valuable. And I hope you have the courage to reach out with any questions if you still have any more after listening to this podcast. Thank you,
No,
Kylie,
thank
for
you for
joining
having
us
me.
today and giving us all your wisdom. And
Oh, of
thank your
course.
dad, too. Thank your dad.
I will thank him. I'll call him right after this.
No. Yeah, we really appreciate having you on
Yeah,
and
thank you.
super valuable information. So I'm really glad
Yeah,
that
if you ever
we're,
need me to answer any more questions or if anyone wants to reach out to me, Caroline can send you my info.
I'll hook you up. All right. Bye,
All
everyone.
right.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.